Let me be honest to God. It's like it's funny, you know. I came out of prison in 1969. Honest to God, it's like I had a year clean coming out. I came out of prison in 1969. My name's Danny Trejo, and I'm an addict, alcoholic. Wow. My name's Danny Trejo, and I'm an addict, alcoholic. I I was here a long time ago, but I don't remember. But everybody just kept telling me. I think I even stayed at that hotel that I was at because everybody's hi, Mister. I asked him, was I here? Yeah, you were here quite a while ago, and I was sober. I had no idea. And this is just people that are just starting out on this journey of sobriety and being clean. You got no idea where you're going to end up. Let me be honest to God. It's like it's funny, you know. I came out of prison in 1969. I had a year clean coming out. I got clean in Soledad State Prison. I was in the hole. Me, Ray Pacheco, Henry Quijada, we were involved in a very serious prison riot, and some people got hurt really bad. And inciting a riot is a gas chamber offense. And Ray Pacheco socked a free person. That's a gas chamber offense. Henry Quijada ruptured the coach. That's definitely a gas chamber offense.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting really into people's testimonies, being an alcoholic or a drunk. So I'm heading more towards this than anything else. I want to help other people, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing this. Sometimes I'll get off topic, and I will lead into the bullshit, but I'm really into now people's testimonies. And if you ever have a testimony you want to tell, get in contact with me. I would love to have you as a guest.
And it was alleged that I threw a rock and hit Lieutenant Gibbons in the head. That's definitely a gas chamber offense. So, 1969, it's 1968, Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo, everybody thinks Cinco de Mayo means 5th of May. But if you're like a real Mexican, I mean from the heart, yeah. Cinco de Mayo means get bail money.
Get bail money. Cinco de Mayo. I met this guy.
99% of the Mexicans do not even know what Cinco de Mayo is celebrating. You know what I mean? Just like, let's get drunk. It's just a get drunk day. That's tequila was invented for Cinco de Mayo, okay? Because you can go to jail and not even know why. And and you can get out of jail and you're still you can ask the judge, well, what am I here for? It's a blank. And so Cinco de Mayo, 1968, that was when that riot started. And if you can picture, there's about 3,000 men in this prison in Soledad, and there's probably 2,000 of them are Mexicans, and probably 1,999 are drunk or loaded. There's one guy that's just not going to know. I'm in AA or something. I don't know. But everybody's wasted, and this riot started. Ray socked this free person, and it just exploded. It was just an explosion. It's not funny, but it is. It's like somebody socked somebody, and then it's just everything. People got throwing rocks and burning things, and I was a good burner. I used to light fires, and 9 times out of 10, I would light a fire, then realize I was locked in my cell. It's not a good idea, And But this one day we're on a baseball field and this riot takes off, and go to the hole, and Ray's screaming. Ray had come down from Tascadero, which is a state mental hospital that's run by the Department of Health. That's the nut house, but for the state. And Vacaville, that's run by the Department of Corrections. That's where I was, and still a nut house. But we, I'm hearing Ray yell, "Hey, they might gas us!" And I'm thinking they might, and I'm kind of just sitting here in this hole. You have to remember, there's no worse feeling in the world than a body full of drugs and alcohol and a mind full of alcoholics or narcotics anonymous. It is the absolute worst feeling in the world. It'll make you cry. Okay, you just bust in. What? I know better. It's easy does it. It's all these things. Come on, let go, let God. But you're locked up in prison, and the first time I ever heard about Alcoholics Anonymous was in 1959, right? And me and about 20 friends, a whole carload, were cruising down Van Nuys Boulevard in my neighborhood, and right on the corner of Lev Street and Van Nuys Boulevard, there was this huge craftsman's house, and there's about 30 cars parked in front of this house. Now, the neighborhood that I grew up in, Pacoima, 2 cars in front of a house means they got guests. It wasn't like a 2-car neighborhood. And though there was always like 1 car, a Chevy on blocks in the front, But so here there's something going on. This the murder capital of Los Angeles was Pacoima, and they're not inviting the murderers. What the hell's wrong with them? And it's like it was like this revelation. Wait a minute, they can't do this. And we stopped the car, went to the trunk of the car to get the tools necessary to crash events. We got tire irons, hammers, pieces of pipe. I had a case of beer, 3 bottles of wine, half pint of whiskey. I was already loaded on second Red Devils pills. I had a 38 snub nose.
Red Devils.
And we proceeded to crash this event. Kicked in you can't like walk up to an event and like knock on the door, lock the door and call the cops. So we kicked in the door and everybody rushed in, and the first thing we saw was a big sign that said, "We care." Only kids. And we're there's only 2 greetings you can get when you crash an event. Either everybody rushes to the opposite side of the room, that means they're willing to throw this event in your honor. Or they rush to the side of the room you're on, usually athlete parties. They usually rush to the side of the room you're on. That means they're not, them tire irons and piece of pipe and all that stuff. We got the stupidest greeting in the world. We had all these old people. I hate saying old people because they were like 40. They come rushing at us. "Hi, I'm Bob. Hey." And it's hard shaking hands, holding a case of beer, 3 bottles of wine, half pint of whiskey, loaded on pills. And I always told my troops, stay in a group. Look, we stay in a group. We got them. They can't hurt us. We got the weapons. But what you guys did, you did that divide and conquer. When I look around, you had them all in like little groups of 4. Counseling or talking to them. Man, we don't drink. And I'm trying to get out of here, right? And this guy stops me and introduces himself and says, "Danny, I've been on the program 8 years. Now, I don't know. The program in juvenile hall is like 4 months. I mean, once you're talking about a program, you can't get out of this house." And he says, "I've been sober 8 years." Stupid thing to say to a guy holding a case of beer, 3 bottles of wine. Get away from me. I don't want to share nothing with you. You just drink all night. He said, I haven't wanted to drink. And when he said that, I can never remember, even at 15 years of age, not wanting to drink. My uncle turned me on to grass. I was 8 years old, gave me a fix. I was 12. I started drinking right after that. And it's one of the reasons I had a tough time like identifying in AA because everybody always talked about everything they lost. I drank for 50 years. God, you're 15 years old. Got a long way to go. And they tell me I had a car, a boat, a cabin in Mammoth. And I was drinking scotch. Scotch, I went to bourbon. I think there's a step down. I don't know. I have no idea. I lost some material wealth. Started drinking wine. Somebody else, can you top this? I drank for 55 years. Now, wait a minute. You guys are killing me here. I'm 16 years old. I got, 30 years left? Yeah. And inevitably say, here he comes. I had a car, a boat, a cabin in Mammoth. Drinking scotch. Scotch, I went to bourbon. From bourbon, I went to beer. I ended up losing all my material wealth drinking wine in the morning in an alley. And everybody goes, oh my God. Here, I started drinking wine in the morning in an alley. So I started drinking. I shot heroin with my uncle. And I said, wait a minute, you tough shooting heroin when you're 13 years old. And we started stealing wine out of Dale's Market. And wine does the trick if you can keep it down. I got thrown out of McCormick Junior High about 8 times, and not for always, but they had cornflakes on my shoes all the time from just. And wine does the trick. Let me tell you something. When you're 13, 14, 15 years old, wine does the trick, especially.
Way. I hear people say I lost the career, the wife, the kids, the home. I didn't lose anything. I gave it away happily.
I'll switch over.
What's happening? I'm Brandon Novak.
Bro,
some of you guys might know me from those movies, Jackass. You might know me as a former professional skateboarder. You might know me from those TV shows, Viva La Bam. You might know me as the author of that New York Times top 10 selling autobiography addiction memoir titled Dream Seller. But what I am is a person in long-term sobriety. I'm in recovery, and I keep that first and foremost throughout anything I do, because I've seen in my story, in my experience, what happens when I put my sobriety second. I lose it all. And I don't even lose it all. I give it away. I hear people say I lost the career, the wife, the kids, the home. I didn't lose anything. I gave it away happily and willingly. As a matter of fact, I can take you to the street corners in Baltimore City where the new owner still resides. That's the reality for an alcoholic like me. Who you're looking at now, what you see and what you hear is not what you would have saw or what you would have heard 2.5 years ago when I walked into my 13th inpatient treatment center. Had lost count of outpatients and detoxes. My mother had bought me a plot. People had taken life insurance policies out on me, and I was on life support for 7 days. Did things in life that people equate to success and happiness, things that most would dream of doing. In reality, on paper, a very successful individual, a millionaire 3 times over at the age of 23. At the end of my run, at 35 years old, I walked into my 13th inpatient treatment center, and my worldly possessions, everything that I owned in my life, consisted of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, and a stick of deodorant. It all fit into a bag that doubled as my pillow, and 4 cigarette butts that I dug out of a receptacle from a building. I didn't come from there. I knew better. I was raised better. I came from better. My mother's a nuclear physicist on the board of Mercy Hospital. My brother's an attorney in the White House. He does pensions and benefits. My father died as a direct result of the disease from which I suffer from. You heard it, former professional skateboarder, been in movies that break box office records, New York Times top 10 selling author. It wasn't in my plans, it wasn't in my cards to be a homeless drug addict in Baltimore City doing whatever it took for $10 more. And I'm not lying when I say whatever it took. The only thing I didn't do for 1 more bag was homicide, and that's just because it never presented itself. Because my disease of my addiction, it doesn't give me the privilege to have choices and options of what I will or will not do for 1 more. When I pick that first one up, it tells me when to go, who to go with, and where to go, and how long. When it says jump, I say how high. How to get there? How? I had goals, I had dreams, I had ambitions. I came from better, I knew better. At 15, I was the first skateboarder to ever be endorsed by Gatorade. They flew me down to Chicago to the Quake Roads building. They put me on one treadmill, Michael Jordan on another treadmill. They put wires and tubes in our nose and our mouths, and they gave us each Gatorade to see the effects it has on different sports players. At 16, I'm traveling the world with my mentor, Tony Hawk. I have a tutor that flies with me. My disease doesn't care. It says, yeah, that's great, your goals, your dreams, and ambitions, but I'm sorry, boy, you don't have time, because right now I'm calling and you answer. You know? Let me give you a little bit of a background on me and who I am and where I hail from. I was born and raised in Baltimore. I came from a rather extreme family, if you will. Like I told you, my mother, she's the most important person in this world to me. If I can be a centimeter of what she is, I have arrived, right? This woman is the best thing that ever happened to the world, or me in that matter. At 15 years old, she got her first job at Mercy Hospital, drawing blood for $5 a pop. 3 years ago, she recently retired as a nuclear physicist on the board of Mercy Hospital. 53 years of gainful employment, second longest employer in Mercy Hospital history. My brother, he wanted to be an attorney his whole life. By the time he passed the bar and graduated law school, he was literally blinded in student debt. He had no idea what he was going to do, how he was going to get out of debt, or how he was going to breathe to see another day.
I just got to say one thing. When he mentioned having a lot of money, being a millionaire, that's one thing I don't want. I don't want millions of dollars. I don't want to be rich. I'm happy the way I am, because if I was a millionaire and if I was rich, I would definitely go back to drugs. That is the God's honest truth. I mean, very honest with you. If I had money and if I was rich, I'm talking about a lot of money, not $100, not $200. But if I had $1 million, I would be right at that table smoking crack and snorting lines. Definitely, without a doubt.
And like I said today, he currently resides in the White House doing pensions and benefits. My father never held a job a day in his life. He taught me one thing: if and when I go to prison, how to conduct myself. I'm not a psychic by any means. I can't predict anybody's future. But if you suffer with the disease of addiction or alcoholism, I can tell you how your future plays out. And this is a fact. You go to jail, you go to rehab, or you die. That's it. That's it. For 21 years, I was an IV heroin user. I drank, ate pills, smoked weed, sniffed cocaine for a grand total of about 24 years. Uh, I
And that's the last time. The last time I decided that I want to get clean, because you have to want to get clean. Uh, I figured I'm going to be in jail, dead. Yeah, jail and dead or in prison. And that's what made me my last choice to get clean. You have to want to get clean to get clean. I'm going to say this until the day I die. If you want to get clean, you have to get clean. You got to want to get clean. You can't just say, because I've been in rehabs and say, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, give me 30 days, give me 10 days, give me 20 days. And you know what? I did those 10 days, those 20 days, those 30 days. I was back on the street smoking crack and snorting lines. So you have to make up your mind and go through the tough route that I went through. Like I said, I went to Arms Acres in upstate New York, and they were strict. And that's what made me clean. I owe all my cleanliness to Arms Acres, because you couldn't even smoke cigarettes on you couldn't even go outside to smoke a cigarette. If you got caught smoking in the room in the dorms, you're thrown out. There's no second chance. Once you get caught, you're done. They call up a cab, they'll take you to the bus station, and you go from there. So the way I think about it, and other people that I want to tell, is you got to want it. If you don't want it, don't waste your time or the doctor's times or the therapist's times or the people who speak there. They don't want to waste their time.
tried every which way in the world known to man to get clean and stay clean. But on the flip side of that, I've also tried everything in the world known to man to get high successfully without any consequences. Right? Because I'm not one of these guys that you hear the stories that, like, I didn't have good times while getting high. I had a lot of great times.
Yes.
A lot of great times doing drugs and alcohol, right? I really did. This is my experience. This is not everyone else's experience. I can only tell you about my experience. But what happened is that party, somewhere along the lines, became a full-time job. And that full-time job paid nothing but pain and misery. Right? So much like my father, my mother, and my brother, and my sister, who also works at Mercy Hospital for my mother, I possessed the quality that they had that I didn't realize till later on down the line, which was, despite any and all adverse consequences that came their way, they did what they had to do to get what they wanted to get. I carried that over into my life. At 7 years old, I got my first skateboard. And that night when my mother put me to bed, she said, "Brandon, what do you want me to do with this skateboard?" I said, "I want it in bed with me." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because if I die, I want it to come with me." It was like God had came down and handed me the Holy Grail in the form of a skateboard.
Yep.
You might be the best ping pong player in the world, but God might not see fit to put a pad on your hand. But like I had this skateboard, and the moment that I got that skateboard at 7 years old and I put it in bed with me that night, I said, I am going to be a professional skateboarder. I ate it, I breathed it, I slept it, I dreamt it. At 15, I became it. Much like my mother, brother, and sister, despite any and all adverse consequences that came my way, I did what I had to do to get what I wanted to get. At 15, I'm designing my own shape for a professional board with Pal Peralta. I go on one of my first tours, and I'm on tour with a fellow by the name of Mike Vallely. And on this tour, he finds me with a lot of drugs, and he said, "Brandon, get rid of the drugs or get off the tour." I throw the drugs down the sewer. I meet a girl from the demo. I have her drive me back. I fish the drugs out of the sewer.
See?
Long story short, I get caught with the drugs. Mike Vallely kicks me off the tour. I'm now home. I get a phone call from my mentor, Tony Hawk. He said, "Brandon, we have one or two options we can do with you. We can put you into treatment. You can save your life. You can continue to be a professional skateboarder and get things in life that you have no idea exist, or you can quit the team."
If you want, I want to tell you something. I never told no one this, I swear. Not even my mom, nobody. My dad was dying, all right? He was dying of emphysema and COPD. And I know they put morphine in. You know, they give him up, the morphine intravenously. And I seen that the nurse, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I got to let it out because I got to let out all my feelings to help my addiction. Uh, there was a drops of morphine that fell on the floor. And me not caring because I was an addict, I didn't care how bad, how dirty the floor was. Do you know I put my finger down and licked up the drops of the morphine. That's how bad addiction is. I didn't care how bad the floor was, if it was clean, if it wasn't. There was no such thing as what do you call it? The virus that was going around. This was way before that, but I didn't care. I just wanted that morphine in my mouth, and that's sick. That's sick. That's beyond sick. It's crazy. It's ludicrous.
From 15, I'm sorry, from 7 years old, that's all I thought about. I ate it, I breathed it, I slept it, I dreamt it. From 7 to 15, it happened. And in the blink of an eye, I was forced with an ultimatum, and I didn't even have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I said I quit. Because what I didn't know then that I know now, that drugs and alcohol had completely consumed me. But see, I suffer from this delusional disease called alcoholism. The factual evidence dictates if you're diagnosed as an addict or an alcoholic, that disease left untreated equals fatal death.
Yes.
You can't dispute that, right?
Yeah.
But I have this delusional alcoholic disease that, as far as I'm aware of, is the only fatal disease that tells me that I don't have a disease, right? Now follow me here. You diagnose me with HIV, I'm rushing to the hospital to get medication because I don't want to die, fatal disease, right? You diagnose me with cancer, I'm rushing to the hospital to get chemo because I don't want to die, fatal disease. You diagnose me as an addict or an alcoholic, I need a glass of wine or a bag of heroin to figure out what the hell's wrong with you for diagnosing me with such disease. And it's just as fatal as the first two diseases. But left to my own devices, I'll believe that I don't have a disease. It's the only one that tells me I don't have a disease. So I don't have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I say I quit the team. Because in my delusional mind frame at this point in time, the skateboarding world needs me. It cannot go without me. I am an asset. In reality, the skateboarding world did not need me. It went quite fine without me, and I was a liability. Unfortunately, I'm the last person to see or know that at the time because I have this job, and this job is a very tiresome job, and it pays very, very poorly. And that job consists of knowing everything, right? Like I know everything. Too smart for my own good. So I'm not really ready to hear what you have to say yet, because after all, I'm a very successful individual. At 15, I'm doing things that people equate to success. I've made a career. I've made a living out of this. So like, how are you going to tell me what I'm doing is wrong? People trust in me. People believe in me. I don't have somebody like saying, "Brandon, be in when like the street lights come on. Make sure you're in school at 8 a.m." because people like have seen what I've did up to this point. So they say, well, he must know what he's doing. And I really believed that I knew what I was doing. And my disease of alcoholism, addiction, what have you, told me I knew what I was doing because it's cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's so powerful that is just an understatement. So, so now I'm home. Packages aren't being sent to my house. Tours aren't being scheduled. Flights aren't being booked. Video parts are not being produced. Because those things require me to be honest, reliable, or dependable. And you'll hear in my story that anything that requires those three words do not work well with me because they don't help me get one more. Anything between me and that next bag or bottle must and will go. And it's not personal, it's just business.
Yeah, business.
Because I don't have the privilege to have choices and options of what I will or will not do for one more. Right? I'm trying to paint a picture here for you people to let you see what the disease of addiction does in like a slow motion movie here, if you will. Right? So so now I'm home and I'm with my mother and I'm with my girl, and about 2 months into this, they come to me one day and they said, Brandon, we have a great idea for you. I said, what's that? They said, we want you to go to treatment. I thought about it for a second and I said, that's a phenomenal idea. A, I have the time. And B, I'm going to report to this treatment center and I will report back to my mother and my girl why I'm not those people, nor will I ever be. Follow me here. I'm going into this treatment center with a closed mind and a closed heart to prove to these two why I'm not those people. Simply caught me at a bad time on a bad way in a bad day. Overreaction at best. So I go into this treatment center. I'm 17 years old. It's around 10:30 at night. I'm in this big cafeteria. I'm all alone. I'm by myself. I'm ill as a research monkey because I'm withdrawing from heroin. I'm trying to make a bowl of this chicken flavored ramen noodle soup and I'm spilling the broth all over me. And out of nowhere, this older black gentleman walks up to me and he says, white boy, what are you doing here? I said, heroin. He said, how old are you? I said, 17. He said, do yourself a favor and don't turn 18 in a place like this. And as quick as he came, he left. He nor I had no idea the significance of this conversation would ever have on my life. You know what I can tell you about that gentleman? I can tell you where the 4 teeth were placed in his mouth because at the time I had on mine. I can tell you that he was 75, I'm 17. He's black, I'm white. He smokes crack. My delusional alcoholic mind tells me that I successfully do heroin. He's homeless. I live with my mother and my girlfriend. He needs this place. God help him. He needs this. He's in the right place. Mind you, closed mind and closed heart, proving why I'm not these people. You know what I can't tell you about that first treatment center? I can't tell you my therapist's name. I can't tell you about the relapse prevention packet they were trying to shove down my throat or the healthy or unhealthy boundaries they're trying to instill in me. Because if I could tell you about those things, that might mean that I can relate to being one of those people and I want no part. I leave that treatment center, disease untreated, no defense against me and that first drink or drug. I turned 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 32, 33, 34, 35 in a jail or a treatment center. And every year on my birthday, I would sit on whatever bed of whatever treatment center I was in or whatever bunk of whatever prison cell I was in and think back to that older gentleman from that first treatment center. And all I could say to myself is, if I would have listened to him with an open heart and an open mind, me, myself, Brandon Novak, would not continuously find myself in this situation day after day, month after month, year after year, meaning that it was fully self-induced. I had created and painted this picture for which I now live in. So in between all those birthdays and incarcerations and rehab stints, I'm in and out of treatment centers. And I'm the kind of alcoholic that I loiter with the intent to recover, right? So I'll get a sponsor. I'll get a home group. I can fellowship fairly easy because I'm a people person. But you say work the steps. Whoa. Number one, the word work is not my forte unless it pays with $10 or a glass of wine. Number two, I guess you didn't get the email that Brandon only attends Brandon's Anonymous, Brandon only sponsors Brandon, and Brandon is Brandon's God. And then for the life of me, I can't understand why I'm back on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park selling my body for $40 to anyone that will buy. How did I get there? This wasn't in my foreseeable future. My mother's a nuclear physicist. My brother's an attorney in the White House. Former professional skateboarder. Been in movies that break box office records. New York Times top 10 selling author who's written a book on addiction. Now I'm selling the corner, selling my body. I had goals, I had dreams, I had ambitions. It was not supposed to play out this way. And the hit is that it didn't have to play out this way. It didn't have to play out this way. But I told you, I had this job of knowing everything, right? So, in and out of treatment centers, the skateboarding world is now awash. And throughout my whole life, you'll hear a common theme is that I was always confused and I thought social acceptability equaled personal recovery, right? So as long as the house was new enough, the woman was pretty enough, the bank account was high enough, and the car was new enough, and you told me those things, that validated me how I was feeling, and I had to be doing good. I had to be doing good. So then I stumble into these movies called Jackass, right? TV shows called Viva La Bam. Travel the world 10 times over. I keep going to these meetings because what I realize now that I didn't know then is I was trying to fill this internal void with an external solution. So I keep going to these meetings, and in these meetings, they tell me that my life is unmanageable. I believe that my life is unmanageable. I know that my life is unmanageable because I can't stop drinking or drugging. But I told you I have that delusional alcoholic mind that tells me that my life is not unmanageable. And I'm going to take it a step further. Now I do appearances in nightclubs. And when I do appearances in nightclubs, they say, Mr. Novak, what would you like in your green room? And I say, I need some heroin, some cocaine, some Xanax, and some wine. They give me those substances. They put them in my green room. I hang out in the audience. I take pictures. I sign autographs. And then at the end of the night, I get a check for $10,000. I already suffer from a disease-riddled mind that tells me I don't have a disease. If that's not hard enough, now, literally, I get paid to get high. Now I'm like really delusional. I don't know up from down, right from left, hot from cold. I don't know. But I'm too internally unique. I see that it works for you people, but it can't work for me. You haven't seen what I've seen. You haven't done what I've done. You haven't felt what I felt. I'm just trying to paint a picture for you of what I felt like going into this, right? So I'm not willing to go back to treatment because I feel like I can drink successfully. I'm not going to do heroin or cocaine or Xanax because that brings me to my knees. I know the death, the destruction, the despair that comes with. But I can drink wine because, like, I don't shake when I don't have it. I don't get cold sweats when I don't have it. So I come up with a foolproof plan of how I'm going to beat my alcoholism. It's going to work. Strap me up to a polygraph. I will pass with flying colors. I'm going to move to Helsinki, Finland. That's literally across the world. They don't even speak my language. I can go there. I can regroup. I can rebrand. I can reassess. I can reevaluate. I can redo life. And I'm going to do it. I am going to do it. I'll bet my mother on it. I told you how much I love my mother. I'll bet my mother on it. I am going to do it. It is going to be different when I touch down in Helsinki, Finland. And as a young age, my mother used to say to me, show me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. So I touched down in Helsinki, Finland. I told you social acceptability equals personal recovery. filling this internal void with an external solution. So I go right to a 5-star hotel. I go right to the lobby bar, and there's all these businessmen in like $1,000 suits having meetings. So I got to be doing good. Look at the company I'm in. Look at the hotel I'm staying in, right? I proceed to go right to the bar. I get bottle after bottle of wine. I get a guy and I keep buying heroin from him throughout the whole night, and I keep going to the bathroom, shooting bag after bag after bag. How did that happen? How did I get here? I swore to God on everything that this was not going to be this way when I touched down. I'll tell you how it happened, because I suffer from a disease that tells me that I don't have a disease. And left to my own devices, I believe it. So I called my sponsor up and I said, Lex, what happened? How did I get here yet again? It was not supposed to be this way in Finland. And he said, well, let me tell you something, Mr. Know-It-All. Let me tell you something, genius. I guess you skimmed over the part in the book where it talks about geographical change does not equal recovery. You can't shake your shadow. You take you with you everywhere you go. And then he says, try this one on for size. Drinking and drugging isn't your problem. What? That was like a punch to the gut. Because I thought really, and I really believe this, if I just sat it down, I'd be good. I can move on with my life. I won't pick it up again. He said, drinking and drugging is not your problem. That's your solution. I can put you in Finland. I can put you in Africa. I can put you in Ohio. I can put you in Philadelphia. I can put you in Chicago, New York, Boston, you name it. You will get high. Drinking and drugging is not your problem. It's your solution. You want to know what your problem is? You want to know what your problem is, Mr. Know-It-All? Yeah, I do. I'm dying to know, right? So your problem is your thinking, your attitude, and your behavior. Wow. I didn't sign up for all this. I wasn't bargaining for this. You know, they talk about triggers, change people, places, and things. My triggers are when my eyelids open. I can justify why this chair makes a great dope shooting partner, and me in this chair will go shoot heroin until I get tired of carrying this thing. And when I get tired of carrying it, it doesn't matter anyways, because my disease of addiction says you don't have the choice to not carry that chair. Carry it. And I have to listen. Wow. So that's not what I wanted to hear. So I jump on a plane. I come back. And now, just like that skateboarding world, the same thing's happening in this jackass world. My delusional alcoholic mind says the jackass world needs me. It cannot go on without me. I am an asset. In reality, it does not need me. It goes on quite fine without me, and I'm a liability. But I'm the last person to see that. Now, paychecks are being diverted to my mother's house. Flights aren't being booked. Because they say, if we book him the flight, will we make the flight? If he makes the flight, what condition will he be in when he gets here? Let's take it a step further, and we book him the flight, and he makes it here, is the same thing that's going to happen that happened last time, where we have to kick the bathroom door down at Paramount Studios and find him dead on the ground with a needle hanging out of his arm. That's not a good look for the work world. But see, I have this selective memory when it plays in favor of my alcoholism. Meaning that I can tell you about 4 years ago on Halloween, like it just happened, just right now, when I was able to go to Ram's Head Pub in Westchester, have 2 glasses of wine, and be home in bed by 9 p.m. I can tell you what bar stool I sat on. I can tell you the barkeep's name was that served me. I can tell you the music that played on the jukebox. I can tell you that it was snowing out. I remember it like I just snapped my fingers. Why, might you ask? Because that night I controlled my drinking. I did exactly what I set out to do. I went, I had 2 glasses of wine, and I was home in bed by 9 p.m. That plays in favor of my alcoholism. My disease of alcoholism says, hey, remember that? You could probably do it again. Oddly enough, what it allows me to block out is being medevac to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states from 4 different overdoses. It allows me to block out a few Christmases back, stealing every Christmas present from under the tree at my mother's house. It allows me to block out my mother buying me a plot 6 years ago on Mother's Day. It allows me to block out 13 inpatient treatment centers, lost count of outpatients and detoxes, being on life support for 7 days. It allows me to block out when I'm sleeping in an abandoned house in Baltimore City on Christmas Eve, and all I have is a T-shirt on, and it's freezing cold, and it's snowing out, and I have to put my shirt over my knees and pull my arms into my shirt and put my face into my shirt and breathe out of my nose and my mouth hot air so I can have some feeling of heat. It does not allow me to remember that, because if I remember that, my disease wants no part of that, because that allows me to see that I can't control my drinking or drugging. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. Social acceptability equals personal recovery, right? So I got to keep the outside appearances up so you people think the inward is doing well. So I got to come up with something else, because the skateboarding world's a wash, the jackass world's a wash. I got to do something here. I got to do something to make you people say that I'm on the right track. So I decided I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. Mind you, I have no GED. I have no high school diploma. I got my GED later on down the line in prison, right? And the only reason why I got my GED in prison is A, because I had the time, and B, if I passed the GED in prison, you got a pizza party that was supplied by Domino's. And I don't know about anybody else. I don't know about anybody else in the world, but it's kind of a no-brainer. Who doesn't want Domino's while you're in the joint, right? So go figure, I aced that test. But prior to doing the GED and having a diploma, I decided I'm going to write this book. Follow me here. Former professional skateboarder. Traveled the world with Tony Hawk. Been in movies that break box office records. Paid rather well. Now I'm going to be a writer. I'm the kind of person, if I believe it, I can see it. I write this book, take it a step further, the book gets published. The book happens to be an autobiography addiction memoir. Now I'm a published author who's written a book on autobiography addiction memoir. Let's take it a step further, and it becomes a New York Times top 10 seller. I'm receiving hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail from all over the world of people saying, "No, I read your book. I didn't want my story to get as bad as yours. I have 30 days. People say, "Novak, I read your book. I understand why my daughter picks the needle over coming to have dinner with me on the weekends. It's not because I was a bad mother. It's because she suffers with the disease of addiction. My delusional alcoholic mindset, I just wrote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, or the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous." And what that is, if you don't know what that is, that's like the Bible for people in the program. It's like a code of how to live, right? I'm saving all these people's lives, but I can't keep a needle out of my arm. So I come up with another foolproof plan of how I'm going to beat my disease of alcoholism. Because see, now I'm at the point where I'm like the alcoholic that wants to kill himself on a daily basis, but I don't want to hurt myself in the process. So I stay in this weird purgatory state. Strap me up to that pilot gun, pass the flying colors. Tomorrow is going to be different. I'll bet my mother on it. You name it, I'll give it to you, because tomorrow is going to be different. Only to wake up tomorrow to repeat yesterday's actions and be stuck in like a Groundhog's Day effect for the better part of 21 years.
Okay.
In theory, on paper, very successful individual, did things in life people equate to success or happiness most even dream of doing. I'm not at the point where I'm ready to walk into a treatment center, admit defeat, and say, "I don't know, maybe you do. Can you help me? Look at my resume. I can make things happen," right? I'm not ready to go back to rehab yet. I have another foolproof plan of how I'm going to beat my alcoholism. I'm going to go on tour with a major rock and roll band. We're going to do 29 countries in 32 days. That is going to work, right? I believe it's going to work. How could it not work? Clearly, Finland was the problem. Now I have 28 other countries to pick from. One of them have to take. And I mean it. I don't want to do what I'm doing. I'm going to like really give my all. Needless to say, I make it to the fourth country. I'm not so kindly asked to leave the tour. Get on a plane from Australia. I come back to my mother's house. I knock on her door and she's crying. She's crying. She's like water's pouring out of her eyes. I said, "What's wrong with you?" She said, "Brandon, I've received 4 different phone calls from 4 different men with 4 very heavy accents today. They said if I didn't deposit X amount of dollars in X amount of bank accounts, I was to view your body at the morgue tonight." I said, "Calm down. I'm here." Right? Because now the abnormal have became the normal. I'm living on that animalistic level. Right? I think she's out of her mind. So now my book's getting ready to be released that night. In Times Square in New York City at the Barnes & Nobles. My literary agent's there, my manager's there, my publishers are there. All these very well-to-do scholarly people in that world. And I don't have any heroin. And I told you, I'm the kind of alcoholic that doesn't have the privilege to pick and choose what I will or will not do or when I will or will not use. When it calls, I answer. By any and all means necessary. It's not personal, it's business. I love you, I don't want to hurt you, but I don't have the option not to. How did I get here? How? How did I get here? Mother nuclear physicist, brother attorney in the White House, former professional skateboarder, been in movies that breaks box office records, New York Times, top 10 selling author. My book's being released in Times Square at Barnes & Nobles. But I don't have any heroin. My people won't give me any money for any of my heroin because what I don't understand now, what I understand now is that it would not be a good look for me autographing these autobiography addiction memoirs while falling asleep into that, right? But my disease knows no boundaries. When it calls, I answer. And me and my buddy from Baltimore are sitting in these 2 chairs and they wheel my books in. And me and him look at each other for 1 second and we have like a full conversation without opening our mouths. I stand up, he stands up, we go over to the boxes of books. I grab 2 boxes of books, he grabs 2 boxes of books, and we jump right to the Amtrak station and we get on the train and we go right back to Baltimore and I sign them off and I sell them to 2 different stores. I just stole my own books from my book release. My delusional alcoholic mind says the literary world needs me. It cannot go on without me. I am an asset. Next Stephen King or Edgar Allan Poe, if you will. The reality is the literary world did not need me and went quite fine without me, and I was a liability. That's a common theme in my life, but it's because I suffer from a disease that tells me I don't have a disease, and I also suffer from a man who has a job that knows everything. So I go back to my my home at the time, where I had my fiance at the time. She's now an ex because I gave her away for $10 more. And I went to put my key in the lock and it didn't work. And I kicked the door in and it's this big shell of an empty house. She had taken my cat, she had taken my furniture, my paintings, my clothes, her clothes, you name it, it was gone. And I got on the floor in a fetal position that some of you guys might be able to relate to, and I cried. Because what happened is that house was a spitting image of me. I was in this big empty shell of a house, and I was living in a big empty shell of a man. And I knew that it was fully self-induced. It didn't have to be this way, but I didn't know how to not make it be this way. But how did I get here? I was not going to be that older gentleman for that first treatment center. Remember, I said, God help him. He needs this. I'm now a spitting image of that man. It's not like I was less fortunate. It's not like I didn't have the opportunities. I have nobody to blame but myself. So this all took place around May, beginning of May 2015. I get a phone call from my mother. I'm from Baltimore. My mother still resides in Baltimore City. And around that time in Baltimore City was when the police killed that young black man, Freddie Gray. And if you remember correctly, Baltimore City at that time was like the movie The Purge. There was a 10 o'clock curfew. They were robbing, they were looting, they were shooting, they were stealing, they were burning blocks down, they were burning police cars on fire. The National Guard was there with their tanks and their machine guns. And my mother was terrified. And she called me and she said, Brandon, I am terrified. She lives about 15 blocks from where that took place, where they killed him. She said, Brandon, I'm terrified. Can you come take care of me? I said, absolutely. There's nothing in this world I will not do for that woman. My intentions are to go back there and take care of her. My actions dictate something completely different. I jump on a train. I go back to see my mother. I plan on going there to take care of her. My actions dictate I run up into this bedroom. I leave that bedroom once a day for 3 months. Every morning at 5 a.m., I wake up and I sneak down the stairs because she sleeps in the living room on the sofa. I know exactly what step to step on because God forbid I step on the wrong step and it makes a noise. And she says, Brandon, can you get me something to drink? I would love to get you something to drink, but I can't. It's not personal, it's business. My disease calls and I have to answer. Former professional skateboarder, been in movies that break box office records, New York Times top 10 selling author who's written a book on addiction. In theory, on paper, very successful individual. In reality, I'm a 35-year-old man living in my mother's house. I leave once a day to go buy $180 worth of heroin and cocaine. My worldly possessions consist of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, a stick of deodorant. All fits into a bag that doubles as my pillow. By this point in time, my mother had depleted several savings accounts.